You're live. Okay, hopefully. Um, hey, this one's a little bit awkward. I don't have one of those ranking boards like a lot of the YouTube people who are more sophisticated do, and I don't have every model of work boot ever made, and I don't have even all the old ones I used to have that I've talked about in other videos. So yeah, I mean, I'm skipping what I don't have the Payless ones anymore that, again, for what they cost and how long they lasted, I guess technically they were, pretty good work boots. But would I buy them again? No, they weren't real leather. Excuse me. The fact that they lasted as long as they did was probably more of a miracle or something. Around the same time, I had also gotten the steel-toed ones, so I don't know that I was wearing them always every single day because the other ones were insulated and whatever, blah, blah, blah. Whereas the first Tom McCann ones I had, I thought were really good. The first Logger ones I had were probably similar to these Challenger ones because these are a little bit thinner of a leather, but they didn't have all the heavy-duty arch support, which is, of course, these guys trying to copy the other heavy-duty Pacific Northwest ones. I'm basically going to skip the heavy-duty Pacific Northwest ones for the most part because they are in a higher price range, and most guys who won't spend $350 on a boot certainly won't spend whatever these cost. I don't even remember. They cost more than I think they should have. But they do contain the kind of things that I'm more looking for, a much stiffer, thicker leather up here, even though it's not necessarily too much thicker down here. And an outsole that I haven't heard too many people insist. I mean, I think some people say that Vibram shouldn't be the gold standard necessarily. They kind of got some breaks and became the default. But overall, most of them agree that they're still better than a lot of the other outsoles that, are out there, especially if you're using them for work boots. They fall in that sweet spot if they last long enough where you can resole them if the boot is still in good enough condition. And if you get one or two resoles in a boot, in a work boot especially, you've probably gotten your money's worth because you're mistreating them a lot more than, more fashion style boots. And Thursday Boots runs around talking about how you can resole their boots, but even though this boot cost, way less than this boot, if you offered me $80 and said, hey, can you go, dig out some bushes in my backyard or dig a hole or something, I would say, sure, let me go home and change my shoes first, right? Because even though these didn't cost that much, I didn't buy them to, beat them up, right? Okay, so we have all those parameters kind of already set. And I was just having a conversation with a neighbor who was telling me that the ones, the Walmart ones, what was the name of them? Brahma are great boots. And I was very reluctant to argue with him because I don't bother. This is the one guy in America I've met who has never heard of Thursday Boots, so I already know for him, they're probably perfectly fine for the price. So again, we're going to keep coming back to that. But yeah, I was pretty certain that nothing at Walmart is an adequate work boot. So I went back and watched the Rosanville video about the Walmart work boots, and sure enough, he reaffirmed that they had one brand, the Herman Survivors, that were a maybe, and I don't have them anymore. I had a pair. They were in here for a long time, but I gave them to the thrift store last month. I did have a pair of Herman Survivors that lasted an unbelievable long amount of time again, and I didn't even pay for them. They were just kind of just showed up one day, and some stuff that my cousin dropped off, and I wore them for quite a while, even though the outsoles were worn down. So okay, fine. Similar to the Herman Survivors, though, we have Stuff that you can get at what Big Five and places like that. They're now, again, the prices of these has probably tripled since I bought them, but I think these were like $50 on sale. They do have a side zipper. I didn't buy them for work boots. I bought them as hiking boots, and they're, you know, dusty, and I've used them a bit as hiking boots, and they work just fine as hiking boots until the zipper wants to fail. But I have had similar boots like this, also similar to the Herman Survivors, greatly exceed expectations. I'm pretty sure these have real leather, whereas the other ones did not, and all the coating just started peeling off. But again, this is mostly nylon, though, not whatever this is. So the nylon parts actually last typically longer than the outsole parts. And sometimes the guy will resole them and sometimes they won't, blah, blah, blah. I did a whole video about all these kind of boots. But as far as work boots go, they're not, you know, the most rugged things, but they will function. And so, you know, we'll include them in the conversation instead of, like I said, some of the other ones that we're just going to skip entirely, right? Next up from that in my collection were some that I was kind of apprehensive about, but I'm willing to slot that. Well, actually detour. First, I will mention the Ariat ones. Again, Ariat ones, they might be priced okay. They fit this particular brand or model, fit me pretty well still, but they are synthetic bottoms. I found a lot of their stuff will have leather here and synthetic here, or vice versa, or probably they're moving toward more all synthetic than more all leather. Let's just leave it at that. And so overall, hit or miss. I'm not going to put Ariat in a very high esteem category, even though they do have a work boot line that might be a little more rugged and durable and all that than some of their Western boots. And I didn't bring in other Western boots and blah, 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 because that's just a separate category overall, even though some people do use Western boots for work boots and blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, we don't want to be here all night, right? So these were the Golden Fox, and they were a little bit less expensive and a little bit less frills than some of the other similar mock toe wedge boots. But again, I hadn't really ever worn wedge sole boots before I bought several pairs. I did not get these first. I got these to do a head-to-head comparison, of course, with the Wolverine. Again, I kind of came to a stalemate with them. I think overall, I was going to argue that Wolverine is still the better company, because they have different models and things that I think, not necessarily for work boots, but, you know, that I liked. Whereas I don't know how much range of models the Golden Fox actually offers, but if you have one that's pretty solid, then, you know, that's half the battle. So I did shred this back counter cover material pretty well, just walking around in just regular army socks. But I haven't had any problem with the actual counter collapsing. Those, I forgot, the ones I didn't bring with the AdTech ones that were supposed to be the logger boots. And they look pretty good. I'm still going to attempt to maybe do a rebuild on those just to try and preserve the leather. But those, the heel counter had punched not through the fabric, but like just the fabric wasn't doing anything, and they were consistently just cutting into my legs, underneath my ankles or my feet, whatever that kind of no man's land area is in there above the heel. So yeah, I absolutely couldn't wear those after the first couple days. These, I wore them for a while. Like I said before, I kind of retired them, and like I said, they were wearing more or less evenly with those, so I didn't see any real reason to, you know, just use them for walking around until the heels wore down or whatever, because they, you know, that's not really the purpose of them per se. I have other shoes I can go walking in and all that kind of thing. So, I mean, I guess technically, I mean, price wise, I think the Wolverines were overall a little bit cheaper than the Carolinas, and they're a different style of boot. And again, these had been the logger boots. So I don't know if I want to rank every single Wolverine boot. Like I said, they're not that much higher on the list than the Golden Fox, but there are other boots that I might still put between Golden Fox and the Wolverine. Wolverine more, maybe more as, like I said, a brand than this particular model. Because in the last couple months, I had ordered like 10 pairs of boots that I had to return. Some of those were, you know, cowboy riding Western boots, so we're not going to count those. Some of them were exchanges, just for sizing. Like I had to resize these. I had to resize Grant Stone, but that was earlier. I had to resize. Who else was it? I tried to resize Tacovas and I gave up. Anyway, so I think I got the Timberland Pros though, and I did return those. And I think if I had to, you know, choose between the Wolverine and the Timberland, I would probably still go with the Wolverine. So Timberland goes down below this slightly, I think. And then, but then there's a couple other brands that I was researching that I didn't end up buying that I almost bought. And one of them was the Duradero, and those cost more than these and these, but I don't think they're as good as either of them. I think I agree with Rose Anvil that they're overpriced, and what it is they're offering you a kind of a gimmick. You know, they say, oh, it's always free shipping and it's always free return shipping. And the return shipping includes if you use their resole service, but he's saying that you'll never get to resole them because they'll disintegrate. So yeah, I mean, why don't they just maybe include a free return voucher in case they don't fit? But also, when I purchased them, why aren't you including me a pair of outsoles just to have in case I can, you know, use them if I want to take them to a local cobbler instead, or if I want to use that outsole that was, you know, supposedly free in the cost of the resole. If I want to put your outsoles on this outsole because let's say I just like it better. Let's say I wear this one for a while and it wears out really fast, and I wear yours for a while and it's actually better. Well, great. Then I'd already just have a pair of outsoles instead of waiting to get those ones resold when they're going to last longer than these are supposedly maybe. If your outsoles are that good that you don't want me going to a cobbler and getting, again, the, you know, competitors, something along those lines. And I had seen a video where the guy had he had a Carolina wedge sole, not a Carolina logger, and a Duradero, and he had concluded that the Duradero was better than the Carolina, which may or may not be true, but for the price, again, I would still argue that overall, I think this is going to be, from what I saw, a higher quality of those, and definitely a higher quality than the Herman Survivors one that he had shown. But the Herman Survivor ones were almost half the price of this. So if you only have $70 and you don't have $130 or whatever these were, they might have had a coupon for these too, I don't remember. So these might be $170 regularly or something. You might be tempted to just go with the Herman Survivors in the short term. But would I say that makes them better boots? Of course not. I'm pretty sure these Carolina ones are better boots. And I'm pretty sure, again, overall, though, for the cost and if I hunted around more, I would probably still prefer some of the Wolverine offerings to the Carolina offerings. It's kind of a give and take. Because again, I have those other Wolverines with the different outsole that I put them on and they actually fit a little bit better than these. I thought they were going to pinch my feet and they were actually more comfortable just right out of the box than I expected. So yeah, win-win. And I had gotten those with a coupon because Wolverine is like constantly offering coupons. And whereas I don't remember if I got this one with a coupon or not. But again, I did not like these as much as the Georgia boots, even though the leather looks kind of cooler and it might even be slightly better. But these ones fit better. And I think partly with that is just because these are the insulated models and this is not. And this is also a lace to toe model, which might affect it slightly. And this is not, but I had to put an insole in this one. And I did not have to put an insole in this one. And this one, like I said, I got frustrated. And 1 second. I have showed this in 2 videos already, but it makes more sense to show it here. That last Sunday or the week before, I forget, I went ahead and sawed off the lugs on the heel of this because I was sick of walking with the high heel since I haven't been using them for outdoorsy hiking stuff. And so I can attest that even though I thought I had a strategy, I ended up having to do quite a bit of work. It took a half an hour to do each boot. And it is seems like a pretty good, solid quality outsole, no complaints. I just didn't want the heel stack as high as it was. And without the arch support, this also does not have the arch support, but it does not have a high heel stack. Whereas this, of course, has both arch support and high heel stack. I just don't know if they've done the arch support exactly the same as the other Pacific Northwest companies have done it, but they also did use Vibram outsoles and not the thickest leather, but I could definitely punish these more than, I would punish these and not really worry about it. These are not the Black Label ones with the prettier leather. This is just their regular rough and tumble or whatever they call it, rough and resilient or rugged and blah, blah, who cares. And it does have the extra cap toe, which I don't really need, but you want durability. I got a whole second, shelf of leather right here. So, but these of course cost $350 or whatever. So we're jumping way up in price. So we'll come back to that. So let's go back. So again, if you want a logger boot in kind of name only, this, and I had gotten the steel toe one. Oh, I just brought in both of those and I didn't need to. Okay. Yeah, again, neither of these are steel toe, but it does have some kind of reinforcement going on here. It's not a total soft toe. And then these ones I had gotten one regular, and one, I had accidentally bought one steel toe or whatever. Or actually, these ones, I think I intentionally bought the steel toe ones of memories. I don't know, I had a coupon or something. But I didn't get these direct from Georgia, if memory serves, except the fact that they're insulated, so I haven't gotten to wear them all that much since I got them because it's been a bit warm for insulated boots. But it's the same thing. It's another plastic welt. So far I think almost everything has been plastic welt. So how many resoles you get out of it, I don't know. But usually they can replace that welt before they have to, do anything else. And it came with, I don't think, was this the one that came with this stuff? Or maybe it came with the Carolina and I swapped them out or something. I don't remember, but this is just for show. This doesn't do anything to protect your tongue or anything. It's just there. So you can replace that with a real one. The tongue is not gusseted all the way up, but pretty high compared to many boots. So like I said, overall, I thought the Georgia boot was a step above the Carolina boot for a similar price. And I wish I had worked in them or walked them more to give a little bit better account, but just on, you know, first impressions and everything else, that's my ranking, but take it or leave it. Okay. But overall, there was another video I watched where a guy had gotten a different model of a Georgia boot, and I wanted to check them out, and I was going to go to Tractor Supply and do that when I saw those other ones on, not Amazon, what was it? Oh, Midwest Boots site. And so these were the ones that I thought looked very similar to the Timberland Builder, or not Builder Pro, but the Timberland Pros. But they were made in America and da-da-da, and have a Vibram outsole and da-da-da. And so I've concluded that despite the Timberland not fitting, and they may have more similarities than I remember because I didn't really give the Timberlands a full, you know, replay. But I did get the Timberlands off Amazon, and they were much cheaper. They were like $80 cheaper or something. But I've come to conclude I was going to, I'm still a little apprehensive about just giving these, you know, the total endorsement. But overall, I think these are worth the extra $80. But of course, I got these with a coupon also. So at full price, I don't know if I'd be as glowing. I am still a little nervous about what's in there and what's hidden into the heel counter and how they're going to perform. I went hiking the other day, and I intentionally did not wear these because I didn't want them to fail on me on the trail before I've had a chance to wear them a little bit more. I did do a little bit of kind of nature boy obstacle course without going for a full-on hike, and so they got a little bit scuffed. And then I got about 6 hours of wearing them, you know, total so far. Not a ton. But this has, I can compare them to the Carolina. It has a little bit stiffer, and I think I did this already in the other video. It has a little bit stiffer leather. The tongue is a little bit thicker, but basically a similar thing. Again, this is not a Vibram outsole, but again, after sawing through the heel of this, I have no fear that this is a good quality outsole. But again, if this is the gold standard or whatever, then technically I'm getting a better outsole than this or the Timberland, or definitely, you know, probably the Duradero, or definitely the Herman Survivors, right? So overall, yes, this boot passes muster. I know I don't know. I gave it a little bit of a harsh, because like I said, when I first put them on, I was really worried about that heel counter, and I knew it was going to be either they fit good or they fit crap right out of the gate. And by the time I wear them to find out if they fit crap, I can't return them. But like I said, I wore them anyway for a half a day, a couple days in a row, and so far so good. So yay, they definitely. Again, would I want to pay full price for them? I don't know. I might try and get some black ones of these. I don't know what colors they all offer. Hopefully they offer black, because I'd like to have some black ones, but probably not. I might be able to get a pair and have them dyed and swap out the outsole. And there is some extra stitching around there, but I don't know if that, I'm pretty sure that's still a plastic storm welt, though. It's just got an extra stitch kind of hiding the plasticky appearance. But yeah, they get, I mean, these have triple stitching in spots. They're not totally lazy, you know. I mean, like I said, I kind of complained about this and that. What mostly related to the fit, though, you know. And like I said, when I saw this off, I was hoping that, you know, my foot would settle, but it still has a bit of an angle. So they're still kind of floppy when I walk. They're still a little sloppy, but they're not unwearable. But another boot that I bought to kind of be a hiking boot that I cannot really say, yeah, this will be a great hiking boot. I probably will never use this as a hiking boot. that's why I saw the heel. Like, okay, I'll just use it on the street then and see how it goes. So overall, this one doing pretty good. I think these are manufactured in the same place as the Thorogood boots. But you can see I haven't been babying them, you know, in that time that I wore them. I also wish that they had put the flag on the outside and their name on the inside. Of course, they want you to know who it is. And this collar, I complained about this. Since I don't tend to lace my boots all the way up, this still is where I'm actually getting the contact with my leg, is this seam, not this bit. So we'll see if I get used to that or not. I did lace them a little bit tight maybe at first, but I don't have as much toe room in them as some of the other ones. So it wasn't like I was, you know, really over tying them the way I do with these, where they're just, I had to get an extra wide of this because it was the only size available and they're a little too big. Just the slightest amount. But again, $200 versus way more, and this one actually kind of a better fit. But this one, I do still plan to get this rebuilt. But yeah, if I had to, you know, and again, I bought this as a hot weather hiking boot, and I will probably never use it for that because it'll be way too hot and still too sloppy. So it's kind of funny I ended up with extra boots. But would this be a pretty solid work boot? Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is fine, you know. But again, way more money. So did I need these and the, well, I already bought those, but do I need these and those and those and those? If I already have these, you know, not really, but I do have a boot channel, so I like going head to head and comparing things and seeing how they do. So I've been kind of trying to walk these ones and the Carolina ones at the same time to kind of see how they do. Like I said, even though it's not work, it's kind of, it's, you know, because you know, if you wear the one pair the day at work, you might have a crap day, and then the next day you have a light day. So you're not getting an even ratio of, I worked both of these the exact same amount. There's no way to quantify that, so it doesn't really matter. But again, we're at the $200 mark. So then I had bought the Red Wings, not the Iron Rangers, and not the mock wedge type thing. I had bought the Blacksmith, and they just didn't fit good. I had to just send those back. But they had a thinner leather, I thought, than these, which really surprised me because all I've ever heard about Red Wing is how hard they are to break in and how thick the leather and I was like, no, I think I'm gonna have a tougher time breaking in the Maverick ones than I would with the Red Wings, and I think they were about the same price. And these ones had the arch support. So yeah, like I said, if I had to just have a pair of work boots, now these cost like, again, $350. So it's a little more than I typically would want to spend on a pair of work boots if I'm just going to use them for work. And I probably will end up using these as my hot weather hiking boots instead of those or those or those. So, okay, fine, done. Again, if you don't need the high heel, you might not want the high heel because you might not care if you have the arch support. But again, they have Vibram outsoles. So for $350, are these better than these? They're comparable. They're similar. Like I said, again, I want that arch support. I'm more likely to use this for hiking, although they might be a little sloppy to walk in. I could go either or, but again, I don't necessarily trust this heel counter, whereas I know this has a leather heel counter. And so I don't have to worry about getting stabbed, or at least I hope not. It might fail in some other ways because, again, it's not a true PNW heavy duty fire certified, you know, Builder Pro or whatever. But I'm hiking. Like, again, I've gone hiking in Payless shoes before and survived. So do I rank this higher as a work boot than this? Barely, maybe. Like I said, I do have a toe cap here, so I do have a little bit more durability, but I didn't necessarily buy it to be a work boot. But if I had to get a work boot, it was 350 bucks, or I had to use it as a work boot, I don't think that would bother me that much because, again, it's not the fancy leather. It's just a decent all around tough leather. It's just not as thick, but it's not totally wimpy, and it is gusseted. It's just not as tall. So yeah, overall, they're in the ballpark. But again, that one at full price would have been $100 less than this. So, if I'm going to destroy them and use them for work, do I want to spend $350? Again, the only excuse for that is because of the arch support. Otherwise, no, this would not be the most sound investment to spend $350 when I can get a pair for $200 that are comparable or even less, money. And I think, like I said, not quite the same exact thing, but if I'm looking to save the money as opposed to get the durability, again, I think overall the Wolverine will serve that function. So how much were these again? I don't remember. So I'm showing the Thorogoods last, but I'm not necessarily ranking them the highest because Thorogood is, as everybody knows, tumbled leather, so it's very supple. And so again, you may or may not want that smushy, supple leather. If you're a Red Wing guy, or like I said, even these Silverado ones. Sure, don't cooperate. What do I care? Okay. Like I said, they might be made by the exact same company. They certainly came from the same distributor. But again, I bought this one with the wedge sole, and if I ever get them resold, I'm more likely to put something like this on there and make it more into a more multi-purpose hiking kind of boot than just a wedge sole work boot. Because I already have a whole bunch of wedge sole work boots. But again, if I'm hiking, I don't always want, I kind of want the thicker, heavier support, which again is why I bought these. But these ones cost way more than these, so I probably could have saved a bunch of money and resold these already. Except that again, they're not stiff and thick, and I didn't know those were going to fit all sloppy and loosey goosey as much as they kind of do. But again, I didn't put an insole in those. I only put the neoprene thing in there as kind of a space filler, and that seems to work pretty well for how I'm using them. So no serious complaints. But as soon as I can rebuild them, I still will, because like I said, they're in a gray zone, not what I want them for. And that's just pointless. And so yeah, so these, but these guys still have features, the padded collar, the mostly gusseted tongue. The tongue is, thin and not heavy duty or anything. The leather is, the leather that it is. It's not the super toughest leather. These have a bit of reinforcement in the toe, so they don't squish down quite as much, but they're still, a soft toe, not a steel toe. Yeah, obviously I haven't worked in these. They still have the tag on them because I got them more recently than the other wedge ones that I wore a little bit. But again, the advantage of these is similar to, well, most of these are kind of similar. Unlike the typical, heavy duty boots, supposedly this, they don't require really any break-in out of the box. You can put them on and just wear them all day and you're fine. This is supposed to take more break-in, but again, since this isn't the total exact same boot, the arch is slightly different or something. Can't put my finger exactly on it, but these I didn't really need to feel like I needed to break them in either. So kudos for that. So surprisingly enough, whereas this one, again, same as the Same as these. This one has your Giganto foam removable sole. This one might not even be as much foam cushion as the Silverado one. Whereas most of these did not come with anything like this. Like I said, I had to put a sole in the Carolina ones just to get them to fit, much less be more cushiony. So even though these cost a bit more, you got a real insole with them instead of just, you know, whatever's in the other boots that's probably not removable. And I can't get it to go in, but I will only waste 30 more seconds doing this. Whereas these, yeah, I don't think there's anything you can remove at all. You could add to it if you had to. No, well, no, it's not glued in, but okay, so I guess it's similar enough, I guess, but I don't think it's quite as smushy. Yeah. So you can replace that. And it's not, you know, it's a wedge sole, so it's not all leather inside and all that like the Thursday. But the Thursday also has that cushiony pour on over top of the leather that may or may not last for as long as it needs to. Golden Fox. I don't remember. Yeah, it might be fused. I don't know that this was glued in, but it might be fused in. But it's soft. It's decent. I can't pull it out, but I don't want to pull it out in case I rip it. But definitely probably, like I said again, probably a less expensive insole than the Wolverine. But nothing that I remember being, oh, this is, you know, terrible, like walking on plywood or something. And this one, I put the same pour-on in as the other one. In fact, I took the pour-on out of that one to put it in this one so I could make it, again, take up some of that volume. So that was, even with the pour-on in here, I still needed to add more pour-on or whatever, or neoprene rather. So there was that, because we went from, I had to size up with these, and then when I sized up, they were a little bit kind of huge here across the vamp or whatever. So yeah, I mean, so yeah, if you did a one-to-one comparison, you know, you could, Rose Anvil would be able to tell you more about all the insoles than me. I just put them on, and you know, if they fit, they fit. If they don't fit, I put in more insole. That's about as scientific as I get with that. Like I said, this has leather, and then I added the neoprene. But again, this cost like a bunch more money than you're going to spend than if you bought this. But this is pretty lightweight, and this weighs, the outsole on this alone weighs twice as much as this boot almost. So again, what type of work you're doing, that can vary. It's like, well, they might not be as good at boots, but I don't need 6 pounds of boot on each foot, you know. Then of course you're going to say that a lighter boot is better because you don't want to carry around a really, really heavy boot all day. I understand that, especially if you're going to higher altitudes even. Depends on what you're doing. You know, if you have to wear them, you have to wear them. If you don't, you don't. And I put the Georgia ones away already, but I don't remember if they had I'm sure they have basically the same insole as whatever the Wolverines or the Carolinas have. But again, I don't remember worrying about it because I put them on and they seemed like they fit pretty good, so I didn't care. Whereas the Carolinas, I was like, oh, what is this? This boot is way bigger on me. They don't fit right. But I'm still wearing them. And I haven't done my winter reset video yet because I haven't determined which boots are going to totally make the cut for January. But like I said, probably these. Whoops, hit myself in the face with the laces. I pulled these back out of the closet to include these because, like I said, there's no sense in doing the head-to-head. And since I already have the taller one of this, I might as well use these and just use them as walking shoes or light work or whatever I end up needing. And so that's 3 pairs right there that will likely make the top tier. And then something like this, of course, for if I'm wearing nicer clothes, doing something else. I have those waxed flesh ones that if it rains, then I can try those out and see how they perform. But I'm not going to wear them by themselves again until it rains, because I got 2 pairs of the Thursdays and I got 1 pair of the Grant Stone. And I wore all 3 a little bit, but I didn't want to wear off all the wax before the weather comes. And if we have a dry winter, then next year it is. Okay. Or the year after. So yeah, I'm kind of rambling now. So I guess we'll wrap it up in case. But like I said, I'm mostly going by price, because yes, the price does dictate some of the quality of the materials. And that's the primary thing. But some of the prices also, the Thorogoods and these are made in USA. So of course they have a little extra built-in labor cost. But again, even with the labor cost, I would still say this is the better boot than the Duradero and probably the Timberland Pro. Gut feeling overall, like I said, I might try and get another pair of these sooner than later, but not an emergency, obviously. And like I said, overall, as brands go, like I said, I still prefer the Georgia from what I've seen, even though I didn't buy that other model, and the Wolverine to the Carolina and even the Red Wing. And the Red Wing costing way more too. Like that kind of closed the door on them for me when I factor in the cost, because I had already bought 2 pairs of the Challengers. It was kind of like, well, okay, Red Wings are done for this year automatically. And so is the like I said, I wasn't going to bother with the Timberlands again. They were low enough price, but then when I saw these other ones, yeah, there were more money, but I wanted to see if they were much better. And like I said, they seem better enough that I'm not going to spend all my time sending boots back and forth and back and forth and back and forth when I already have a pair of boots that are perfectly good. So, or at least perfectly good as far as I know, until they malfunction, in which case I still think they're less likely to malfunction than the Timberlands, though. So that's my ranking. Like you said, take it or leave it. And we'll try and get back on schedule with the Sunday boot reviews soon. But since I haven't had a chance to wear a lot of them and things, I don't like to make videos just to make videos, just to hear myself talk. I'd rather make a video when I can actually tell you some useful information. So we'll see how it goes through the rest of December. And like I said, the winter reset video, I haven't determined yet if I want to do that as a Q&A or not yet. Probably, and I don't know if I should do that this weekend or save it till after Christmas for the next weekend. We'll see how I feel. We'll see if anybody tunes in. And as always, if you have any questions, put them in the comments. I know I'm forgetting at least some pair of boots I meant to mention, or some pair of boots that matters to you or something. And we'll have that discussion if it's possible. If I can, again, provide any useful information, I will surely try.